So in late August, I gave a BBC about the 5 forces to practice in one's lifetime. And these are 5, I kind of think of them as 5 abilities or things we can do. And the whole gist of those, they come from the 7-point thought transformation teachings. And they all are about conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. So these are ways that we can enhance and habituate ourselves to this beautiful aspiration to become a Buddha, to benefit all beings, and to the wisdom of emptiness. So there also is the 5 forces at the time of death, and that's what I wanted to focus on today. And these teachings were from Chekawa, and a student of his is actually the person who organized them into the 7 points. And he practiced those teachings for 24 years. And in Thupten Jinpa's book, he has his commentary on them. And so as I speak about him, I'll also share his commentary, which I quite like. It's short, but it's in the first person, so it has this resonance of, you feel like, wow, when I'm dying, this is what I need to do. But it's all predicated on the fact that you've habituated yourself. You know, this is the essence of the practice, and you've habituated yourself to this. So the first force is, as he says, when you contract a fatal illness and you become aware of your imminent death, these are the time of death instructions. This is what you want to be doing at that time, because the actual text says, one translation is, the instruction for the great vehicle transmigration of consciousness is to apply these very 5 forces lying in the perfect position. And so the first of these, the 5 forces are in a different order when you do them at the time of death, and they have a very different meaning. But basically, if you remember that everything is about the 2 bodhicittas, and now you're going to carry that forward, that's what's going on. And the first force is the force of the white seed, or the positive seed. Now you're going to get some things out of your way. You want to get rid of your possessions that you're attached to. Discard them, donate them. Say Chobu Choki Gelsen, the commentator, he talks about this as making an offering to your teachers and to monastics and those who are worthy. He definitely says you don't want to be giving things to people you're attached to. What you're trying to do is you're trying to, at least what they say was customary in Tibet, even before somebody died, they would do this because they're trying to kind of unload things that they might then have attachment for at the time of death. So this was to encourage a person to have this acceptance of the reality of their death. So we can let go. And here, especially attachment to possessions is what they're talking about, but it's broader than that. And the reason you want to do this is so this doesn't come up in your mind at the time of death. And then you can focus on your practice with a more urgency. And as he says, without any attachment to your possessions of this life, generate a fearless attitude with regard to your future life. And I love that because you've habituated yourself to these beautiful thoughts that help you to be fearless. You know, when you're having difficulties and you do the practices that lead to bodhicitta, it makes the mind much stronger, and a lot of these negative emotions they go away because you can't hold those when you have these beautiful aspirations in your mind. So you're taking advantage of that in a very tangible way. And then the next is the force of aspiration. And here, this commentator couples this with these making of offerings. So he says, don't be content with just making material offerings, but offer what's best to offer, which is all of your merit, all of your virtue. And conjoin those with this great aspiration, prayers of, so that now and at all times, through my death, through the intermediate stage, in the next life, and all future lives, and all future rebirths, I'll never be separated from this practice of the 2 bodhicittas. And may I always be guided by true spiritual teachers. So say Chobe Gelson's way, he actually has you kind of lay out the offerings and then first kind of request forbearance for any of your shortcomings, declare your, purify your mind, take care of purify any negative karma, and renew and review your pledges that you've made, such as even for refuge. And then make these offerings to the three jewels with this fervent request, and this is his first person: may I remember the two awakening minds and engage in their practice. May I encounter sublime teachers who reveal this teaching. Lead me to the beginning of my path to happiness. May I train in the two awakening minds during the intermediate state. May I train in the two awakening minds throughout all my lives. May I meet sublime teachers who reveal this teaching. So if you train yourself in this, you imagine this is what I want to be doing at the time of death. And then the next is the force of destruction or eradication. So this is where we need to recognize any clinging that comes up in the mind, any grasping at the self or to wealth or to relatives or to possessions or to friends. These kinds of we need to eradicate any attachment that comes up in the mind, because this will damage our chances for freedom. And as what he says about this is, that which grasps at self and I has made me suffer since beginningless time. This has also brought my present suffering. So long as I am not divorced from this, no happiness can arise. So it's this real recognition of we need to work with this grasping in our lives, and then at the time of death, if it arises, deal with it, let it go. And then he also next talks about looking at the empty nature of the mind and reflect in this manner repeatedly to eradicate self-grasping. Then as your death approaches, you want to have this force of motivation to carry the practice on. So he says if we make this intention firm, that the awakening mind will arise spontaneously. And we've actually have friends that have had experiences of going into like brain surgery or other surgeries where they've been doing a practice on the way into a long surgery, and they come out the other end and they're still doing the same mantra. So we know that it's possible for our mind to hold something, and we want to take advantage of this motivation, this force of motivation. And of course, this would depend on our habituation. That would make it so easy, because as he says, you just recall it because you've practiced it so much. 24 years he did this practice, right? So for him, he was just recalling it, and this is what we want to train ourselves in. And then the last force is to be familiar with the awakening mind while in the perfect position, while you're actually dying. And this is lying on your right side with your cheek supported by your right palm. And then you close your right nostril, some say with the ring finger. If you can do all that, great. But mostly make sure with the mind, he says, while you're still breathing, practice the taking and giving Tonglen meditation. So in this 7-point thought transformation, that's a big focus of these practices is bodhicitta and Tonglen. So you're habituated with this practice. He also says you can meditate on emptiness. And even if things are still appearing to you in the wrong way, they're appearing inherently existent, just consider that they're actually appearing in a false manner. Just whatever understanding you have, bring it to mind. So this practice is something that we habituate ourselves in. We do it through our lives. We can bring it up every day. It's the quintessence of putting together all of our practices into these two bodhicittas, and then we can follow these instructions at the time of death. And so I encourage people to think about how they want to prepare for death. We never know when it's coming. For myself personally, I need to make things kind of easy. I actually don't do the Tonglen meditation a lot, but I actually do have something that for me is simpler, which is throughout the day, I try to see everyone as a friend. And I have this hope that when I'm in the bardo, this will carry over. And for me, that is quite, it's easier. It's like I can all day long, and when I put somebody into that enemy category, or I kind of check out and like, whatever, I don't want to have any, the indifference arises. I just know I want to come back to this way of being, and then, of course, enhance that with the practices that we have to develop bodhicitta. So find a way to make these things work for you easily so that they can become part of your day.